Hey guys, welcome to another tier ranking, and here's my tier ranking of all the X-Men movies. With the release of Deadpool and Wolverine, I wanted to do a tier ranking of all the X-Men movies, and technically Deadpool and Wolverine is now in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, so it's like basically a crossover between the X-Men universe it's a crossover with Fox and Disney, so yeah. So but it's still pretty much it starts off in the X-Men universe. So yeah, with the release of Deadpool and Wolverine, and I haven't done a tier ranking of the X-Men movies yet, and so that's why I wanted to do this one. So I thought this would be a good idea because I haven't done this one yet. So anyway, let's get started. So my favorite is Logan. I loved Logan. Logan was a masterpiece. Logan was one of the best superhero movies, by far the best Wolverine movie and the best X-Men movie. Well, out of the X-Men movies overall. But this is the best, but since this is in the X-Men universe, this is my favorite movie in the X-Men universe, and so, yeah. I loved this movie. This was one of the most violent movies I've ever seen. By far the most violent superhero movie, and just it's safe to admit, I would say it's one of the most violent movies I've ever seen, period. It's gory, it's very, very bloody. But yeah, it was it was a well-deserved R rating for Wolverine, so yeah. Hugh Jackman stole this whole movie. He was awesome in this movie. And he played Wolverine, and also he played the main villain, and he just stole this whole movie. He was great. This has to be his best performance, so yeah. Loved Logan. And then I'll put X-Men Days of Future Past right here. I also loved X-Men Days of Future Past. This is my favorite out of the X-Men movies. Like, out of all the X-Men movies, this one's my favorite. Like if I can't count the standalone Wolverine movies, then this is my favorite in the X-Men movie, with the X-Men team. But my favorite in general is Logan, but I loved this movie as well. This movie was great. I feel like this movie was the ending to the X-Men to the X-Men franchise, and Logan was basically like the epilogue. So, yeah, I loved both these movies. Logan and X-Men Days of Future Past are both my favorite X-Men movies. I absolutely love them. They're great. X-Men Days of Future Past has some really great action scenes and some funny scenes too as well. Like the scene with Quicksilver in the kitchen was awesome. That was one of the best parts of the movie. And the stadium scene where Magneto lifts the stadium, and the scene where Wolverine drowns is also great as well. And the scene where he wakes up in 1973 is also great. This movie had really great action scenes, and this is definitely my favorite out of the movies with the X-Men team in it, and my second favorite X-Men movie. Loved X-Men Days of Future Past. Then I'm gonna put Deadpool and Wolverine right here. Yep, I loved Deadpool and Wolverine. Deadpool and Wolverine was absolutely great. I talked about it. If you have not seen my review for Deadpool and Wolverine, I'll put a link in the description below so you can watch it. I loved Deadpool and Wolverine. Deadpool and Wolverine was absolutely great. I did a review of it, and it was great. The very first MCU movie that's R in the Marvel Cinematic Universe movie. It's great. And yeah, it's the very first Marvel Cinematic Universe movie that has X-Men characters in it, which was absolutely what I wanted. And it did fix all the stuff that happened in X-Men Origins Wolverine. Ugh. How they sewed Ryan Reynolds' mouse chip, that was just cringy. But what they did in this movie is perfect. Spot on, the duo. Didn't feel like we really needed this movie because Logan had such a perfect ending. But overall, I feel like this was great. It was a great movie. I loved it. And then I'll put Deadpool right here. The first Deadpool. I loved the first Deadpool. The first Deadpool was awesome. Ryan Reynolds was great in this movie. And the way it introduced Deadpool, like, honestly, it's a good movie for people who are not into superhero movies because it's really funny. This movie is hilarious. I love Deadpool. Deadpool's very, very funny. Really great action scenes. I love the highway scene, the highway shootout, and like the scene. It's really, really funny. I love Deadpool. The Deadpool is awesome. And then I'm gonna put what should I put next? I'm gonna put X-Men First Class right here. I loved X-Men First Class. This was a great origin story with Professor X, and the first X-Men movie that didn't have Wolverine in it. Well, I mean, he did for like 2 seconds, and I don't. And honestly, like, not all that. This movie shows that Wolverine does not need to be in all the X-Men movies because this movie was great. Love the story with Magneto and Professor X. It really explains with Eric and Charles. It really like how their friendship fell out. They had a big fallout, and it was sad for the two of them. But yeah, I loved X-Men First Class. This is one of the best X-Men movies. X-Men First Class was great. And then I will put I'll put X-Men 2. I'll put X2 right here. X2 was a classic. This is definitely one of the best superhero sequels. I loved X2. X2 was great. Like, the White House scene was absolutely awesome. And I really had a good time with X2. This is one of the best X-Men movies as well. I loved X-Men 2. Really great action scenes and great music as well. So, yeah. And then I will put... I'll put Deadpool 2 right here. Or actually, yeah, I'll leave Deadpool 2 right there. Actually, no, I'll put Deadpool 2 in the B tier. I loved Deadpool 2. Deadpool 2 was hilarious as well. I had a good time with Deadpool 2. It was also pretty funny as well. I remember when I first saw Deadpool 2, I liked it more than the first one, but then I rewatched Deadpool 2 a second time. I still like the first one more, just because I felt like the first one was funnier. Deadpool 2 did have better action scenes, though, but overall I like Deadpool 1 more, just because Deadpool 1, I liked the story better in Deadpool 1. Deadpool 1 was funnier, and it had better story, better pacing. Deadpool 2 had better action scenes, so, sorry for that, let me delete that. That was a big interruption, but anyway, Deadpool 2 had better action scenes, though, but the pacing was better in Deadpool 1, and Deadpool 1 was funnier, and I just like the story better, so, yeah. Then I'll put The Wolverine right here. The Wolverine is actually a very underrated movie. I love The Wolverine. In fact, actually, I'll put The Wolverine in the A tier. The Wolverine was actually really great. That was a very underrated movie. Not a lot of people have watched that. I did have a good time with The Wolverine. It is a very underrated movie. So, yeah. I feel like those movies, I feel like The Wolverine, if you're not even into superhero movies, you might even like The Wolverine. It has some really good acting in it as well, so, yeah. And then I'll put the first X-Men right here. Yeah, I really enjoyed the first X-Men. It started off the whole entire franchise, and it pretty much saved superhero movies as well, because that was at the time where superhero movies were not very good. But this movie pretty much saved superhero movies. I did have a good time with the first X-Men. It really, like, Hugh Jackman was great in this movie, and so were, like, Patrick Stewart and Ian McKellen. It was a fresh start to superhero movies, and it's a good movie to start with if you've not seen any superhero movies. And then I'll put, I'm gonna put X-Men Apocalypse right here. I thought X-Men Apocalypse was fine. I didn't love it, but I thought it was a good, enjoyable prequel. I felt like I don't know, I thought it was enjoyable. I know a lot of people don't like this movie, but it did have good acting in it. A lot of people don't like it, though, but I enjoy it. And then I'm going to put X-Men The Last Stand right here. I wasn't big on The Last Stand. I thought X-Men The Last Stand was just okay. I wasn't the biggest fan of X-Men The Last Stand, but I just thought it was fine. It wasn't awful, but it was definitely one of the lower X-Men movies, so yeah, wasn't into X-Men The Last Stand. Thought it was just okay. Didn't hate it, but didn't think it was great. And then X-Men Origins Wolverine is a D tier. I did not like X-Men Origins Wolverine. The CGI and the effects weren't very good. I will say the first hour of the movie was great. If it remained at the first hour, I would have probably put this movie at maybe an A tier or a B tier, but it just, I don't know, the last hour of this movie I didn't like. Like, okay, maybe the first 45 minutes was good, But after that, I just did not like the rest of this movie. Like, I didn't like the effects on Wolverine's claws. It was just so cringy. And I don't know, wasn't into this movie. Didn't like it. And I did not like what they did with Ryan Reynolds in this movie by sewing his mouth shut. Ugh, that was just cringy. That was the worst part of this movie. That was one of the worst scenes in superhero movies, what they did to that scene with with Wolverine versus so-called Deadpool. Ugh. God, but Deadpool and Wolverine really fixed that, so, yeah. But yeah, was not into X-Men Origins Wolverine. Didn't hate it. Like, the first 45 minutes was fine, but other than that, I didn't care for this movie. Alright, so I have not watched Dark Phoenix or the New Mutants. I never had any interest in watching them. I heard they were terrible. I just didn't watch them. I had no interest, so... yeah, those are all the X-Men, but yeah, everything else, I just only missed 2 of the X-Men movies, but I've seen all the others, and yeah. Other than that, I thought this, so yeah, that was my tier ranking of all the X-Men movies, so yeah, in the comment section below, please tell me, did you agree with this ranking? If not, what's your tier ranking of all the X-Men movies? Let me know down in the comment section below. Comment below, let me know, and, oh god, this showed up again. I have to get rid of that. Anyway, if you like this, please subscribe to my channel and hit that like. Alright. Later.